Hello, you're coming for a consultation soon, and I'm really happy and looking forward to it, so I wanted to make sure that we make the most out of it. And in order to do that, we need to be speaking the same language. All right, so what I want to do is, first of all, it's really good that we're speaking English, but now we have to have the same definition of words. Because if I define a word one way and you define it another, when we talk, we won't be communicating our meaning. And so basically, what I'm going to explain to you right now is going to be a complete change in the way you view cancer. And not only cancer, but health. And it hurts me when I say that word cancer. I hate it. Okay, and I'll tell you why I hate it, because there's been a lot of money spent to make sure that when you hear that word, you're scared to death. Because unfortunately, that word has become synonymous with death. Okay, however, it's just that word. It's not the condition. The condition, I've seen tens of thousands of people heal. So that's just not true. But the most important part of healing is your mind. The most important part of healing is your attitude. So you hear this word and you're scared. It's like someone just took away your future. It's like someone just told you that all of your plans are irrelevant. Anything on your agenda is irrelevant. And you agree, the problem with it is you agree to do things you wouldn't normally do. I can't tell you how many people have come into our center who've had some surgery and had parts of their body taken off, and then they see other people at our center who have the same condition without having had the body parts taken off, and it makes them so sad. Anyway, but that's all based on fear, right? And so, as you know, there are people that get parts of their body taken off so that in the future they don't get it, right? They've got people believing that cancer is genetic, so if they're BRCA1 or BRCA2, they go get their breasts cut off, their ovaries taken out, uterus taken out. Let's talk about what we're really talking about. What happens is, there's one thing beautiful about nature. If you look at nature, there's no garbage. There's no trash. If an organism has a bowel movement, it's nourishment for other organisms. There's no waste. And by the way, there's never a mess. If you walk into a forest and there's leaves on the ground, do you ever look at the leaves and say, oh my gosh, I should put this over here and that over here? It's perfect. The law, or the word that we have for that, is called homeostasis, or balance, maintaining function. So homeostasis means that regardless of what happens, whatever you're affected with, your body's going to do what's necessary to maintain balance and function, all right? And that happens. So if I'm eating pasta, bread, potatoes, rice, I'm going to have a lot of glucose in my blood, in my tissues, and my body will reflexively, to adapt, to protect me, become insulin resistant, because my body knows that too much glucose will kill me. I'm too stupid, I don't know that, but my body knows it, because my body was made by God. So it's got the intelligence of God in it. So it becomes insulin resistant. I go to a doctor and they go, aha, you have a disease. It's called insulin resistance, diabetes. So I'm going to give you this magic potion of poison, and that's going to make you better. Do you realize how insane that is? Okay? All I got to do is stop eating the pasta, bread, potato, rice, and cake. And then my body won't need to adapt. So what we're calling a disease is the body's adaptation to a situation that is not meeting its biological needs. What it is. Same thing if I'm eating greasy, junky food, my arteries get plugged up. You got to keep the blood flow to my brain, the blood flow to my heart. How do you keep blood flow with clogged up arteries? Increase the blood pressure. So I go to the hospital and they, aha, you have a disease. Again, so everything that we call a disease is an adaptive response to maintain functional integrity. It's called homeostasis. It's a homeostatic corrective response. So I hope we understand that the whole mythology around diseases is just that, mythology. And by the way, people like me who have an MD after our name, that means mythology doctor, by the way, just in case you're wondering. So it's the same with cancer. So with cancer, what happens is, because you live in the 21st century and there's all these toxins, and they converge on the cell, and the cell, the most vulnerable part of the cell, is called the mitochondria, and that's where we make energy. And that energy is made from oxygen and glucose. Anyway, when 30% of those mitochondria are gone, the cell needs to survive, so it starts to ferment. That's the only way it can survive. It ferments, and now in order to be successful at it, it has to quiet this gene, turn that gene on. And it makes all these genetic modifications. They're not mutations, they're epigenetic changes. So it makes these epigenetic changes. Now it's like changing operating systems. You go from a Mac to a PC. You've got to change operating systems. That's what happened. So now once it's done all that, made all those changes, now the cell can successfully ferment. So we call it a chronically fermenting cell, or a CFC. And I like that word because it's accurate, it's communicating the situation, and it doesn't scare you, and it doesn't hurt me to say it. So that's the word we use. We have chronically fermenting cells. And you'll notice that when I say that, it doesn't stab you in the heart. So that's one thing we have to understand. Now, the question becomes, how did I get that way? Why did this happen? You live in the 21st century. It's happened in the other centuries, but the confluence of all different toxic exposure comes upon the cell. So what do we want to do? Well, we want to get rid of all those possible toxic exposures that have caused the problem in the first place. Okay, so that's what we do. It's called detoxification. There's a very interesting phenomenon that the body does, and I want you to understand that. Do you ever hear people say, I'm doing a detox? No one does a detox. Your body detoxifies when you leave it alone. If you're eating, your body's busy assimilating and digesting the food. As soon as you stop eating, it's going to clear it up, and then it's going to clean house, and then it's going to renew itself, and it's going to take care of itself. What's that called? It's called detoxification. It's a natural process of the body. It will clean itself. So how do you detoxify? You don't. You stop toxifying. Just stop doing. Drink water, drink juice, and your body will do it. All right, so life is a happening. Our body happens to us. We don't do it. So same thing with detox. Detox happens when you stop toxifying. Stop eating. And it'll clean. The body was designed to regenerate, rejuvenate, and procreate. Regenerate, rejuvenate, and procreate. All of nature, regenerate, rejuvenate, and procreate. You pull an apple from the tree, next year there's 3. You pull the weeds, next week there's more weeds. That's the nature of nature, all right? If that's not happening, repair and renewal, that means something's in the way. Something's blocking it. Okay, so if you're not healing, it's because you're blocking it. You got to get rid of whatever's blocking it. So what do? We do juice cleansing, we do colonic therapy, we do lymphatic therapy, we go to bed early, we do all the things we need to do. Why do I mention these things? Because this is how we would be living if it was 7,000 years ago. There were no machines. When would you go to bed? About an hour after sunset. What would you eat? Stuff that grew. I don't think you'd look over at that snake and say, that looks good. Or you wouldn't, why would you look at an animal and want to take a bite out of it? I guess there's probably some weird people in the world that would take a bite out of an animal, but most people won't take bites out of animals. And most people, when they're walking along and they see a dead animal, they don't get down on their hands and knees like the dog does and smell it and say, it's pretty good, I want to take that home. No, we don't do that. Why? Because it's against our instinct. We were designed to pluck, to plant, to play music, to caress, to love. That's what we were designed to do. If we want to kill, we got to get a tool. We got to get a weapon. A dog doesn't, a raccoon doesn't, a rat doesn't, a bear doesn't. They're equipped by nature, by God, to kill, because that's what their requirement is. Okay, so you got that. So I'm just trying to give you some background so you understand. And also, let me ask you another question. Do you put your finger in fire? No. You put your clothing in fire? No. How about your money? You put your money in fire? No. So I can conclude then that you don't put anything that is of value into fire, because fire is destructive. Is that correct? Yes. So why do you take the products that nature produced for our nourishment and put it into fire? So the point is this: it's unnatural, and it produces substances that are actually poison. So we've got chronically fermenting cells going on. All of us do, by the way. Even those of us that haven't been told that, we've got either micrograms, milligrams, or a gram or more. If you have a gram or more, you actually have what's called a tumor, and that's considered, active CFCs. But the average person walking around has either milligrams or micrograms. Why? Because it's a natural adaptive response. Now, why does it go that way with some people? Why does it go all the way with some people? Because their immune system in one way or another gets overwhelmed. And then one other thing I want to ask everyone. Do you have a contract with God to be here tomorrow? No. So we all have the same prognosis. We're here today by the grace of God. We'll be here tomorrow by the grace of God. We have to remember that, because I've had many couples in front of me. One has CFCs, the other one doesn't, and the other one dies from a heart attack or an automobile accident. All right? But we're focused on this person. So the point is, we all have the same prognosis. So you want to live today as best as you can. And here, as we get older, people say, I don't want to get old. I don't want to get to, it used to be 30. And then, no, I don't want to be 50. I don't want to be 60. What it is, you don't want to be sick. If you're 10 years old and you have acute leukemia, is that okay? You're young? No, that's not okay. How about if you're 110 and you're full of vigor and life and you're running up and down the thing and you're having fun and you're talking to your great-great-great-great-great-grandchildren and telling them stories and teaching them? That's fantastic. So it's not age, you just don't want to be sick. And you don't have to, because our birthright is health. What is health? Health is optimal functioning of the organism. And the organism, which is in our case is us, can only function optimally if it's in a situation which satisfies all of its biological needs. And since we're not just biological, it must satisfy our biological, psychological, and spiritual needs. What our society does, we're told implicitly that health is impossible and disease is inevitable. Well, then I better get insurance. So you get insurance, medical insurance. Why do you get medical insurance? Because you're planning to get sick. And then you get sick. You're going to get sick. Why are you going to get sick? Because you're eating stuff that is no longer food. And then we go to the doctor, they give us drugs, which are poisons, because poisons always make sick people better, right? Yeah, of course, it makes sense. Anyway, eventually you wind up in the hospital for a long time. You go in the ICU, and then you die in the ICU. So you're born in the hospital, you die in the hospital, and all along the way you're revisited by doctors. I want you to think about that whole system there. So what we want to do is we don't want to get rid of your CFCs. We want to help you get restored to health, because it's your journey. Why do you want to get restored to health instead of get rid of your CFCs? Because when you're healthy, not only do you not have CFCs, you don't have diabetes, you don't have high blood pressure, you don't have depression, you don't have insomnia, you have nothing, okay? You understand? So our goal is health. The journey begins with us. We're going to teach you how to get healthy, how to live healthy, because remember, we didn't learn. We're going to teach you how to get healthy, and that's only the beginning of the journey. Now, the rest of your life, so people ask, what's your success rate? It's not my success rate. If my success is that I successfully inspired them, I successfully gave them enough information and inspiration to live their lives healthy. But if I have someone with lung CFCs and 9 months later they start smoking, well, you can't ask me what my success, I have nothing to do with that. My job, doctore in Latin means teacher. That's my job, teacher. Teach and inspire. And if I can do that successfully, then that person can live their life. All right, so we have to define success. Success is, I taught you how to live. That to me is success. Diagnosis. Dia means separate. Gnosis, anyway, it's knowing. How do you separate and know something? You give it a name. That's what a diagnosis is. It's a name, nothing more. Why is that a useless thing? Because it doesn't tell you the most important things you need to know. How did I get this, and how do I get rid of it? So what I want you to know, the only difference between ovarian cancer, breast cancer, brain cancer, pancreatic cancer is the first word. The second word, same biology. The biology of CFCs is the biology of CFCs. The difference is the location in which it started, and that will tell you how that cell behaves, because heart cells behave differently than liver cells, which behave differently than kidney cells. So it's the original behavior of the cell, number one, and number two, where that cell drains, where that tissue. So my liver drains to these lymph nodes, my lungs drain, so that's it. So there's no different type of cancer. There are different locations, all right? And they're all the same. That's why we've got to do the same thing. We've got to clean up the toxins. We got to learn to eat and live a life that's going to support health and natural physiology. And number three, we have to wake up the immune system. And we have specific ways of doing that. We use interleukins, we use peptides, we do all sorts of things. And the most important thing is to learn to turn your mind off when you need it. Okay, now your hands are really good tools, right, to do stuff. So if you're making something, you're cooking or whatever, you're writing a thing, now you're done, your hands go down, right? The same with your mind. Your mind is a tool, so use it. I got to go to the store. I got to write this paper. When you're done, And what happens? 90% of the mind is subconscious. We don't even know what we're thinking. 80% is negative. And since negative thoughts suppress the immune system, that's not real good, but it's true. So you have to learn to turn it off because you cannot control what you think. What you think is not up to you. You don't decide to think. Thinking happens like your heart beats. Okay, so you got to learn to turn it off. And if you don't turn it off, that means 80% of the thoughts that you're not even aware of are putting the brakes on your immune system. All right, so it's the minute you can turn the mind off, your immune system's through the roof. So those are the ways. And then going to sleep early, living according and satisfying your physiological, biological, psychological, and spiritual needs, and you will hum like a brand new BMW. We're going to have our consultation. We're going to talk about your particular situation. By the way, a diagnosis, I forgot to finish this. A diagnosis is actually like a sorcerer's spell, because people think, when I was diagnosed, since I've been diagnosed, before I was diagnosed, as if that were like a turning point in your life. And it is. They gave you a name. So you're no longer Bill or whatever. You're now stage 3B colon whatever. You understand? And I'm serious, because I'll talk to people and they go, I'm a cancer survivor. I'm a cancer patient. What? I thought you were a mother. I thought you were a daughter. I thought, they become that. I'm telling you, it narrows things down, and don't go for it. Don't listen to them. It's a lie. It's all a lie. Because I'll tell you something. I've had tens of thousands of people doing healthy. They're doing well. They're doing well. We don't buy their lies. It's a lie. Okay. One last thing. When the doctor tells you, if you don't do what I say, this is going to happen to you. I want you to understand something. If a doctor has 100 patients and he tells them all, if you don't do what I say, you'll be dead in 3 months. If you don't do what I say, you'll be dead in 6 months, 2 years. Okay, 100 people, 80 say, okay, doc, I'll do anything you say. 20 say, I'm out of here, goodbye. I have no data on those 20 people that don't come back, so I cannot tell you what happens to people that don't come back. If I do, it's called a lie. Unless you're wearing a white coat, of course, then we call it a medical opinion. But for the regular folk out here, it's a lie. I don't know, but I know. Why do I know? Because they come to me. They come to me 7 years later, 8 years later. They didn't do anything. Tumor's bigger, but they're not dead. You don't need a diagnosis. All you need to know is that you're not feeling well. You're not healthy. Let's get you healthy. How are we going to get you healthy? Let's clean out the garbage. Let's feed you. Let's put you to bed. Let's open the window, get some fresh. Let's restore normal physiology. Okay? And your body knows how to heal. You don't know how to heal. Doctors don't know how to heal. You have a big cut. You go to the surgeon. He can sew it together, but you have to heal it. If you're malnourished, that won't heal. Doesn't matter how good the surgeon is. Healing comes from within, and we have to awaken that. That's it. So, see you at the consultation.